Her name is Barbara Mandrell, and Barbara, we welcome you back to our show.
Thank
I just saw
you.
Barbara on a street corner.
And I was going to say, yeah, you took my line.
Oh, what was it?
I was going to say, you picked me up on a street corner downtown. It's nice to be back with you. It's been too long.
It has been a while. I hope you're feeling well.
I feel very well. And
I know you work all the time. And
I have to.
Why do you have to?
Well, it's because there's work to do, work to be done.
You're very aggressive, aren't you?
Mm-hmm, very. I think in a good way, though. I don't think in a bad way. Only in terms of wanting to do my best and be the best I'm capable of being.
Ken and Barbie, do you believe that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We've lived with that a long time.
The Barbie doll and the Barbie dolls?
I'll tell you what's hard to believe is my mother gave my daughter Jamie to play with 3 Barbie dolls and 2 Ken dolls and the old cars and the whole thing from the original. They belonged to Louise and Arlene, and wardrobe and everything. And I kept telling her, Mother, they're valuable. Don't let her play with them. Nah, they're not valuable. Well, then she reads an article where some Barbie doll in fairly good condition went for $500.
You mean an original?
Yes, these are in mint condition. So now she doesn't argue with me when I tell her, you know, let's let Jamie play with the new ones and put back the old one.
I want you to tell me your version of Squashing the Bird.
Oh, boy.
All right, we're with Barbara Mandrell.
Do you have any Kleenex here in the studio?
We're telling stories that will be included in Louise Mandrell's book about Barbara.
Well, I will preface this little story by telling everyone, if you don't already know, I am a big animal lover, and that's why this story is difficult to tell. There had been a little bird that had evidently fallen out of the nest, and we found it one day playing in the yard. We stumbled across it, and all day long I mashed up bread and milk, and I fed the thing, and I would pet it, and I cannot tell you what I went through with that bird that day. Pushed it in the baby buggy, wrapped it in the blanket, loved it, and was already scheming as to how I was going to make this bird survive. And that night, after all of this ordeal all day long, I had it wrapped in the little towel or blanket, whatever it was, and setting in my lap, and I went to change the television channel. And I set the bird on the couch. I went and changed the channel and came right back and sat on my bird. And my sisters, I mean, I'm in hysterics, you know, and the bird's gasping for air, and I'm screaming, Daddy, save it, you know, because Daddy, of course, could do anything. And my sisters are both screaming at me, you murderer, you killed that bird. And so he didn't make it, though. But I goofed. My father, being a policeman, if I would tell these girls, like they didn't want to play what I wanted to play, I'd say, I'm going to tell my dad, and he's a policeman, and he'll get you and lock you up and take you, you know, take you to jail.
That's terrible.
I know, but it worked. It worked. And anytime something didn't go my way, I'd threaten him with my dad being a policeman. Well, it got to the point where Daddy would come home for lunch in the patrol car, and they'd go into hysterics. So their mother came down and told my mother and my father, and my dad had to go down there, give them a ride in the patrol car, let them play with the handcuffs, blow the whistle, do the siren, and boy, did I get it. And it ruined my whole method of getting my own way.
How old were you then?
Oh, about 5.
5, and you were already scheming?
Oh, yes, yes. I always wanted to be the leader, not the follower, and that was a good way to get power.
The big question on everybody's mind is, what about the new NBC television show that you're going to do?
Well, I'm excited about it. It co-stars my sisters, Louise and Arlene Mandrell. It is on Saturday nights, I'm told, at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. It's an hour show.
6 o'clock Mountain, and we'll be delayed on the West Coast.
You've done this before. It will be...
What's the name of the working title?
Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters. Clever, huh? So it will be sort of half comedy and half music. Probably when I'm serious will be when it's funny. No, I don't know. But
when does it go on the air?
November the 22nd. And we will be doing a lot of things that the 3 of us have never done, or at least have never done in a big way. I've never had the opportunity really to do a lot of comedy. I'm really looking forward to that. I feel we have excellent writers.
Are there other regulars set for the show?
Not regulars, no. They'll be guests. We're talking about the Statler brothers, and I toured with them for 2 years.
I guess that show is over, isn't it?
Yeah, it just sort of outgrew itself. And What a great experience for me. It really was. They are so professional and so business and reliable, and the fans love them. And there's a show when they hit the stage, you know, not just music. They really entertain, and more often than I've ever seen any other artist, when they hit the stage, many times they go on to a standing ovation. And nothing could thrill me more, because I love them like family. In fact, one of the greatest compliments in my life was a letter from the Statler brothers, in which the letter said, "To the only Statler sister we have." Is that neat?
I like that.
The only thing wrong with them is they always call me Queenie, or they call me Fidget. That's when you're not a midget, you're a fidget. And Ruby Lee.
The title you're not going to believe. Not tonight, I've got a heartache. I've got to ask you the obvious question. Have you ever used that excuse?
Never.
Not tonight, I've got a headache.
This is a very personal question, Ralph. No, because my husband has a standard answer. I can help your headache. Oh, no. But, you know, a true story. I don't know where they get it from, but my little daughter Jamie was riding along in the truck with her brother Matthew and Ken, my husband. And Matthew said to Jamie, "Give me a kiss." And she said, "I can't, I've got a headache." Ken almost drove off the road. When I first came to Nashville, my first appearance anywhere here was on your television show that you had at 4:30 in the afternoon in Nashville.
And Merle Travis brought you to that show.
Yeah, well, Merle called you, and then Betty brought me.
Right.
And there I was, lugging that steel guitar in.
I didn't realize that we were spawning a star there.
Isn't that?
Barbara, did you know Patsy Cline?
Yes, I did. I got to tour with her as part of the Johnny Cash show, a package show that traveled around the United States for a little while. And I have very vivid memories of her. I had traveled quite extensively, but she, I guess, assumed since I had just turned 13 that I was lonely and scared and whatever, and I had my own room in the hotels, but she would not let me stay in them. She treated me like she was my mama. She brought me over into her room, and that's where I was to stay, and I'll never forget the first night. I don't sleep quite as wildly today, but I used to kick and end up all over the place, and it was the middle of the night, and I remember saying, "Barbara," and I woke up, and I was completely the wrong way across the bed, laying across the top of her, and other experiences I had. She had her hair done. She hated it. I'd always enjoyed doing hair and was pretty good with it. I did her hair. She loved it, so I did it every day. And that's why, you know, it kind of hurt me. It affected me when I saw the wig that they had of hers in the Hall of Fame. Because, you know, well, it just did. And she was so good to me and so wonderful. And the thing I remember most about her talent was that she, driving along in the car or anywhere, when she would begin to sing, it was like she was in a studio. The resonance, the quality, she was just grand, and I loved her very much.
Well, they're bringing her records back now.
They should.
This is Matthew Dudney, better known as Matt. Matt, how old are you now, son?
10.
And your mama is the famous Barbara Mandrell.
Yes, sir.
You like to hear your mama sing?
Yes, sir.
How about your little sister? She kind of nice?
Uh-uh-uh.
How old is Jamie now?
She's 4.
4 years old. What do you want to do when you grow up, Matt?
Probably be a doctor.
That's a very nice profession. What kind of a doctor? Huh?
Heart doctor.
Heart doctor. Is it true Tom T. Hall taught you how to play poker?
Yes, sir.
What were you doing playing poker with Tom T. Hall?
Not sure.
Huh?
How old do you remember me talking about it? I think you were about
I was
4 or so the first
4
time.
years old.
Matt's very good in math. That's his best subject, and he excels greatly in that. And I attribute all of that to Tom T. Hall and teaching Matt poker.
Which one of your mother's records is your favorite?
Crackers.
The recent hit Cracker. Why'd you like that?
Well, I had to get to like it because we had to label all the crackers.
Can I tell the fans what he's talking
Yeah.
about? We bought 15,000 packages of crackers like they have in the restaurants. And we labeled them, we stickered them with gold stickers that said Crackers, MCA Records, and the number, and Barbara Mandrell. And he had to help sticker them.
I'm surprised Matt's not sick of crackers.
Really. He's such a good boy. He helps all the time.
Matt, you enjoyed going on the road with Mama?
Well, when I get to go, it's really fun.
You're in which grade?
5th?
Are you going to go to school in Hollywood?
Yes, sir.
You're going to move out there as Mama does the new NBC television show, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I wish you well out there. And then you're going to go, I guess you'll move back to Gallatin
Probably.
and go back to school there.
Yes, sir.
You may go to school with some kids of famous Hollywood movie stars.
They were real disappointed. The first house we looked at out there, Christopher Reeves was a neighbor. And I know Matt kind of liked that. And Jamie, this is Superman, of course.
Yeah. Barbara, thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Matt, thank you for coming by and helping us out.
Thank you.
When Brenda was on
this.
the show, she spoke well of you.
Well, I hope so. She's my buddy.
But she was talking about she had helped you straighten out a voice problem you had.
Yes, and Brenda, can I just talk about her 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
I've had many people ask me, who influenced you, and it was really hard. It's hard to say one person influenced me because I grew up loving and working with so many artists. But I do remember an occasion where I was allowed to go into a record store by the owner and pick out any 2 albums I wanted. And one was Emotions by Brenda Lee, and the other was Grandma, What Great Songs You Sang. And I took those home and stood in front of the mirror and turned that record player up and sang those songs with her. I knew every breath she took. I just think she's tremendous. And so when I got back to Nashville years later in my life, I had the opportunity of meeting her, and I just met her. And she invited me. She was somebody was giving her a baby shower, and she wanted me to come over. And I'll never forget, here she sat in this big mansion of a home with her tummy much with child, and her cup of coffee sitting on her tummy, and her feet propped up in the chair with her shoes off, just the most down-home, real, genuine, terrific person, surrounded by all the luxury that her hard work has brought her. And I love her very much. She actually saved me when it came time to do this album, because I was suffering from a terrible throat hoarseness from, the schedule I usually keep. And she told me about a shot that her doctor in New York had given her, which was a combination of adrenaline and cortisone, and it would shrink the vocal cords where they're swollen and allow you to sing like you normally would without the hoarseness. So I took the shot, and I'm very anti-drugs, as you know, but I think drugs are wonderful. God gave them to us for a purpose. When we're ill, or when we're in pain, or when there's a medical need. So I'm a little leery of it, but my doctor assured me this was fine, and I did it, and it was miraculous because I went into the studio. It started working some 18 hours later. It was just like I had right back to normal, no swelling, no problem.
I want to talk about the Thunderbirds for a moment.
I bet you do.
Barbara and I, this year, separately, had a marvelous thing happen to us. We got to fly with the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, and with Captain D.L. Smith. Colonel D.L. Smith.
Yeah, he's the commander of the Thunderbirds, right.
And you flew with him in San Antonio, I believe.
And you flew with him in Nashville. What did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. They gave me the whole 9 yards. Colonel Smith radioed back to the ground. He said, I've done everything I can to make this guy sick. And he hadn't done it.
Were you frightened or apprehensive the night before?
I was apprehensive because I really didn't know what to expect. When a man's going to take you up in an airplane and turn you over and over, but once I got in the air and he'd gone through his first trick, I thought, well, if that's it, I can handle it.
Well,
how did you feel about it?
Well, tell him what happened to you when I know I talked to you about. I took off one of my gloves when we did the arc in the plane, and I took off one of my gloves and when we were experiencing weightlessness, and I watched the glove float around in front of my face, and it felt wonderful. And I tell him what happened when you did that.
Well, I held my glove up and it went over my shoulder and I couldn't find it.
Did you ever find it?
Yeah, I finally did when we got back down, but it just floated up over my
Well, at least
shoulder.
you got your safety pin back in, so your ejection seat was not ready to be in use when you landed. I never could get that back in.
Well, I want you to tell them, Barbara had me call and give her a report on the telephone after I flew with the Thunderbirds. But you told me then it would be very difficult to tell other people what I had experienced. Tell them how you expressed that.
Well, I don't know what you're getting at. I see a terrible grin on your face.
You said it would be like telling somebody about sex who had never experienced it.
Oh, Mother, he didn't say that.
Barbara, I want to go back to another subject we were on earlier in this interview, and that's your new NBC television show. How long are you going to live in California?
A minimum of 3 months.
And your daddy and your mama, they're going to move
Yeah, my dad is moving when we first go, and then he'll come back and drive my mother out there. And
so how long do you plan to stay in California?
I won't know until December when I will be allowed to leave. Actually, we will spend Aspen in Christmas. Christmas in Aspen in December, as we have the last couple of years. And we also are off the week of Thanksgiving and hoping to go to Hawaii at that time for a week to rest. But other than that, Ralph, I don't know. It will depend solely on how well the show's doing, whether they pick up and you know, go longer with it. They do have that option to do that if they choose.
As I understand it, the original series of shows is 6 shows, right?
Yes.
And if you're doing well, it will go on.
13, and then it goes beyond that. I mean, they have the right to do that.
Are you going to do little comedy skits,
Yes.
say, like they used to do on the Carol Burnett show?
Yes, I'm hoping very much that they do take it to that degree. I want to dress up silly and have fun, and it just sounds wonderful to me.
That's great. Boy, do you believe that's happening to you?
No, I don't.
My spies tell me that NBC's been bird-dogging you for a long time, that whenever you would appear in California, they would come to your show.
Well...
They've been scouting you, in other words.
Yeah, and I just did not want to do a series. And I've been, and I'm sure you can read in print, where I've said, I won't do a series. Well, they convinced me that this is what I need to be doing. And I am convinced that our team of people working behind the scenes will help us give the best product we can give.
Hey, do you remember when you used to come on this show and do dialects?
Well, I don't really do dialects. I've never... you think I do, but nobody else
You used to
thinks
do it like a New York telephone.
A New York accent,
Yeah.
Well, California doesn't really have an accent. They're very bland. They're, I guess, because of melting pot, but New York, really. I know why you're saying that. I told you the Bill Anderson story about when he went through the toll gate with his bus, and the toll gate guy yelled, "Hey, Charlie," said, "I got a Billy Anderson over here and all his wing dingers." Bill swears that happened.
Do that again. Bill
You're easily amused.
Bill's in New York State?
Yeah, and the one toll gate guy yells to this other toll gate guy, because he was so impressed, he's got Bill Anderson there, and he says, "Hey, Joe," or whatever his name is, says, "I got Billy Anderson and all his wing dingers over here."
I love that.
Hey, girls, eat your heart out. Last year in October, I got rubbed on the left side of my neck by Ralph Emery's beard and the right side of my neck by Kenny Rogers' beard. Whew. Boy, I just get shook up thinking about it.
All the same night, too, wasn't it?
Oh, my heart. No matter what life dishes out to you, if somebody loves you and cares about you, and you know it, then you can handle things. But if you don't feel like you have someone to care about you, it's very, very difficult to handle life.